he says Democrats are not going to be here to support Republicans. Are we really going to shut down?
I think we will. I think Democrats do not want to feel like they've been played. Republicans passed a bill in the House without any Democratic input. They passed it. They left for spring break. They're down in Gainesville partying or wherever they're going. And Democrats are saying, like, we want to be part of this. Let's negotiate. Let's do it the way it's been done in the past. I think we have a shutdown.
Well, I guess the question for me, Jim, is that this shutdown isn't necessarily like other shutdowns we will have experienced in years past, in that it's coming against the backdrop of Elon Musk and the Department of Government Efficiency actively trying to cull the federal workforce. If you furlough a bunch of people, does it not make that job easier? Isn't that what they're risking?
Well, I do think Musk is a backdrop on this because there's less distrust between Democrats and Republicans on government funding, because there's also a view among Democrats. It's like, OK, you sign a bill. Is it really going to be adhered to, or are they going to sort of go outside the law and do what Elon Musk does? So I think Musk hurts the situation, doesn't help the situation.
All right, Sarah, I don't know if you think this is really going to happen, but if we shut down, how do we ever reopen? And if we do reopen, will it be the federal government as we know it?
I absolutely have no idea.
Wow.
I don't even know how we got in this spot. I mean, Chuck Schumer back in September, when, of course, President Biden was the president and Kamala Harris was running, he said a government shutdown would hurt the American people, the average American person. So now that President Trump is in charge, it's okay to shut the government down. And by the way, the members are not on spring break. Actually, the Democrats are away for 3 days on their break. But the reality is...
Leesburg, Virginia.
They're still away. They're not in D.C. But the reality is, like, what are we doing? And it just gives President Trump even more power. And I realize it was only one, but one Democrat did join with the Republicans in the House to pass the bill. And from most people's perspective, the bill is pretty clean. There's some funding for rural hospitals and medicine, but it's not a bad bill. So I'm really stuck. And that's why I said a couple weeks ago, I'm like, oh, I'm 100% that this would pass, because I thought it would be the Republicans.
Really didn't start going up until the last 24 hours since Chuck Schumer said this, right? I mean, that's what changed the story.
Yeah, well, and to your point on one Democrat in the House voting for it, Congressman Jared Golden of Maine, obviously more of a moderate, someone who's in a very unique district in terms of the competitiveness landscape. In the Senate, we have John Fetterman, who has said he won't vote to shut the government down. But literally, who else should we be watching on this, Jim?
Yeah, I think it's folks that are up like John Ossoff. But, you know, I want to get back to Sarah's point. Like, this bill is not far off to something that Democrats and Republicans could both agree to. And it was a huge wasted opportunity by Mike Johnson not inviting Democrats in at all, because the differences aren't huge. And you could probably spend 5 or 6 days hammering them out and getting a deal that, you know, would get a lot more support, but it would lose some members of the Freedom Caucus. And I think Mike Johnson made a choice like, I don't want to do that, and I'm just going to rely on the Senate Democrats to bail me out. And Senate Democrats are saying, no, thank you.
Yeah. So, okay, we close the government down. What's the off-ramp? How does that work? Could this be a record-long shutdown? Because your Speaker of the House wants to get busy on a reconciliation bill, and there's not going to be much appetite for this wait.
I don't know how it gets reopened, to be honest with you. I mean, because nobody saw this coming, or I would have told you last time I was here, nobody saw that Chuck Schumer would do this and really be willing to take the blame for shutting down the government when he didn't bring any appropriation bills to the floor all the time last year. So, like, the House passed some of the appropriations bills. The Senate did not. Now he's trying to do it in 30 days if you do a short-term CR. So it's a mess. But if it closes down, I don't know how long before it reopens. But it does put a lot more power where the Democrats, I would assume, would not want it, which is where President Trump sits. So, I mean, it really empowers him. Yeah, and you're right, with the federal employees, I mean, they're all furloughed.
Well,
It's going to be a mess, and it could be a long-term mess.